Good morning, I'm Diane Smith, and welcome to Capitol Report Morning Update for Tuesday, June the 7th. Here's the latest from the state capitol this morning. There are only 2 days left in the 2011 session, and legislators are busy. First, the budget. The House debated the final budget implementer yesterday, HB 6652, which references the $1.6 billion union CBAC concessions package yet to be ratified by 45,000 state employees. But receiving a lot of attention during the debate, the fiscal note prepared by the nonpartisan Office of Fiscal Analysis, which says it does not have enough information about the concessions to verify the savings as estimated by the governor's office. OFA also says the legislature doesn't have to come back in special session to approve the concessions agreement if it is ratified. There are a number of other sections in the bill that raised concern, and here's some of that debate.
What it's a question of is, are we passing a balanced budget? With all due respect, as much as there's been an attempt to, there's no answers have been provided here because there's no data to provide. It's not here. OFA doesn't have it. The gentle lady from New Haven said she at least didn't have it here. I don't know who has it. Press doesn't have it. OFA doesn't have it. Who has it? We are a legislature. We are a separate but equal branch of government. It is totally understandable to work with our executive branch to achieve a result. But folks, we just can't make it up as it goes along. We just don't make it up. This is serious stuff. Serious stuff.
This is the last implementer of a budget that has really been developed, passed, debated, processed faster, and is more complete during our regular session than anyone, I think, in this chamber can remember, with perhaps a few exceptions. We have a budget, we have all of our implementers that are going to be completed before the end of session. In my years in this legislature, that's never happened. There are things about this that are also historic in that we are asking for significant concessions from our labor friends in the context of an economic tsunami that has already hit us. We are addressing that problem. We are implementing in this budget programs that will help us get out of this situation, and we've moved it in record time. I think that's what the people of Connecticut want us to do. When we are done with this and the Senate passes it, we will have completed, in essence, the fundamental function that we have to carry out as a General Assembly for the people of Connecticut.
The budget implementer was debated for 7 hours in the House. It ended up passing by a vote of 83 to 63. It now goes to the Senate. The Senate, meanwhile, was first to take up Emergency Certified Senate Bill 1243, formerly known as Senate Bill 1. The new title of the bill, an act concerning the establishment of the Department of Energy and Environmental Protection and planning for Connecticut's energy future. It's the product of bipartisan efforts by the chairs and ranking members of the Energy and Technology Committee.
This bill reflects a paradigm shift with respect to how we as a state view energy. We move from a reactive to a proactive position, from responding to problems to anticipating a problem and developing a strategy to overcome it. That's a significant change in how we view energy and its importance in our lives, in our economy, and in our state. For the first time, we have a full-time commitment to addressing the problems in our intelligence and using our intelligence to develop solutions. The bill puts into place a structure and resources that reflects our recognition that our economy and our quality of life require both a short-term commitment and one that will last for years to come.
This bill merges two huge agencies and creates a structure that we've never seen before in the state of Connecticut. It takes environment with energy and merges them together. Generally, two thought of opposing ideals. Because if we want to have energy, well, we don't care about the environment things because it creates emissions, and well, that's a different horse of a different color. But they can be combined. And with the combination of the two, it can be a great product. And I think that merging the DPUC and the Department of Environmental Protection is a good thing. We had, prior to this, in our energy department, spread throughout several different agencies in the state. We had many tentacles, and we never had the full body, and that's what we're doing here. We're pulling those tentacles in and having a full body of energy so we can go to one place to look at to determine, is it working for the ratepayers of Connecticut?
SB 1243 passed the Senate unanimously on a roll call vote and was immediately transmitted to the House for consideration. The Senate also passed HB 6308 last night, House Speaker Donovan's health care pooling bill that opens the state employee health benefits program to municipalities and nonprofit organizations doing business with the state. It also includes the continuation of efforts to implement the Sustanet health plan in the future. The vote, 22-14. The bill also heads now to Governor Malloy. Well, a major bill that is awaiting the governor's signature is SB 913, which mandates that certain employers with more than 50 employees must now provide paid sick leave. It'll make Connecticut the first state in the country to have such a law. A number of associations lobbied against the bill, including CBIA, the Metro Hartford Alliance, the Manufacturing Alliance of Connecticut, and the Connecticut Restaurant Association. Ultimately, the bill was modified so it mainly regulates the service industry. Joining me now to talk about it are Paul Filson, the director of the SEIU, State Council Service Employees International Union, and David Rutigliano, who's the corporate chef and owner of SBC Restaurant and Breweries. Good morning, and thank you both for being here. Paul, how many people who did not have sick leave now will in your union?
In my union, the vast majority already have paid sick leave, but probably about 1,000 of our members, we have about 50,000 members in Connecticut, about 1,000 of our members will now enjoy paid sick leave, and which is certainly going to be a great benefit for them.
As you were saying, most of your members have sick leave because that's one of the things that unions frequently are bargaining on behalf of. So who are all the people that didn't have it? There were estimates as many as 250,000, maybe even more.
Well, in our union, we represent school bus drivers, and believe it or not, many of them often had to go to work to drive our children to school while they were sick, because if they took a day off, they would not get paid. And so often these are very low-wage workers and don't get as many hours as many other employees in Connecticut do. And so they would go to work sometimes when they weren't feeling all that well. And frankly, I have school-age kids, and I'm happy that they'll now be able to take some time off and take care of themselves. And when they are working, they'll be healthy. It'll be much better for them, and much better for our kids too.
Dave, there were estimates that maybe 18% of the workforce didn't have paid sick leave. You were pretty passionate at the public hearing that you testified at on behalf of restaurant owners and restaurant workers, and you said it's really a different situation in the restaurant business. Can you explain what the basic case is for you?
Well, the biggest difference in the restaurant business is we're in a right now industry. We always had issues of how are we going to cover for that employee calling in sick. Unlike an office or something like that where the work could pile up and get done the next day, we have to service the customer as they come in. There's also other parts of the bill that were troublesome to us. One was the provision where they could use their sick time hour by hour. Well, if I have an employee, lunch starts at noon, say, okay, now I need to leave for an hour and go to the doctor. Okay, great. How am I going to get an employee to cover that hour? Plus, Connecticut has a minimum hourly standards where I can't just pay somebody for an hour. If they come into work, I believe it's 2 or 3 hours they have to get paid. So some of this bill just didn't seem workable to us. That's why we opposed it so vehemently.
One of the things that happened was a couple of senators, including Senator Prague and Senator Gomes, said, we don't want sick people preparing our food. I'm not coming to your restaurant if you have sick people working there. And your response was?
Listen, we have never had a pandemic or an outbreak in the state of Connecticut. We managed our sick our employees very well. In fact, quite frankly, it's against the law for somebody to come in and work sick in the restaurant business. It violates every health code in the state of Connecticut. So it was a little just them being a little bit bombastic. Plus, they're going to go to restaurants that have less than 50 employees. They're not covered under the bill. So it's a little disingenuous.
Mm-hmm. When they talk about a company with 50 employees, now you own several restaurants, does that mean all of your employees in the aggregate, or does it mean 50 at one location?
We're a little unsure.
Yeah.
We're still analyzing the bill, to be perfectly honest with you. And there's still parts of this bill that we're discovering, and our association's working with it and trying to figure out what to tell our members.
Because you'd have to be a pretty big restaurant to have 50 employees at one site, wouldn't you?
Well, the restaurant business we employ a lot of part-time people.
Mm-hmm.
See, there's a particular employment track. If you just take our restaurants, for example, right? We usually get kids right out of high school, or when they're in high school, they start with a part-time job. Then they go to college, and they work for us full-time while they're in college. And then a lot of them will stay on after they go into their chosen profession. A couple shifts here, a couple shifts a week, just to keep a little extra money, or to keep their hands in the business. So it kind of adds to your total employment, even though they're not full-timers. So it'll break the 50 threshold fairly easily.
I see. Paul, why exclude all the other employees and just cover service employees? In the beginning, this bill was meant to cover all employers with 50 or more employees, including manufacturing and lots of other areas.
Well, like a lot of laws that we pass in Connecticut or that you pass in this country, they're evolutionary. The first stage of this terrific public policy law will cover service employees and healthcare workers and school bus drivers and restaurant employees, and they're employees who have a lot of contact with the public, and it makes a lot of sense. In the future, we hope to expand it to businesses with fewer than 50, and so that it should cover almost everybody in Connecticut. I think that would be the best thing and the most fair thing, and would be a terrific advancement.
I think one of the things that they were saying during the debate or during the discussions on this bill and how to change it before it actually went to the floor was that in manufacturing, those people who are running manufacturing concerns in the state are now competing against a worldwide market. But, do we want to bring our level down to everybody else's level? If we say, well, I can't compete against China because they pay $2 an hour or $2 a week or whatever it is, do we want to say, well, that's what we're going to do too? We're going to, go to the same level they're at.
Well, first of all, paid sick leave is good policy. It's good policy for employers because when people go to work sick, they are not very good employees. They tend to be less productive. Studies have shown that paid sick leave increases productivity, it increases competitiveness, and in fact, and it's kind of sad to say, that the United States is one of the few industrialized, advanced countries that doesn't already have paid sick leave throughout the whole country. Connecticut is a pioneer, and the United States needs to catch up to the rest of the world, to Europe, to Japan, to other industrialized countries.
But those countries aren't the ones that are really giving manufacturers big problems. It's the emerging countries like China, like some of the countries in Latin America where they're producing some shoes and other goods. It's India, places like that.
Well, as you know, the incredibly low-wage industries is not the future for the United States. We need to develop high-wage, high-skilled workplaces and work opportunities for our more highly educated people. We cannot compete with Sri Lanka and with Bangladesh and with Guatemala on pay and benefit levels. I mean, we have to be competing with the rest of the world where workers are, workers can make more money and earn a decent living. We need to have, even here in Connecticut, low-wage workers, the lowest wage workers, their families are covered by Husky. Taxpayers end up paying the benefits.